Hey everybody, welcome back to Black Magic Craft. It's been quite a while since I've done a dollar store challenge build. That's exactly what I'm gonna do here. In this video, I'm gonna build these big 12 by 12 chunky, double-sided with water effect cave tiles made entirely out of stuff from the dollar store. And I mean it. Everything here I got at the dollar store. If you can't get at the dollar store, you're gonna be able to find it at like a place like Walmart or something. There's no special tools being used here. Everything is just like typical household crafting stuff, and it's all gonna be really easy. This video is gonna focus on the tiles, but if you need some of these cool set dressing little scatter terrain pieces for your caves, I have several old videos where I made them in this same kind of cheap theme. These Underdark scatter pieces were made again from dollar store stuff. These little spider eggs were like one of the first videos on the channel and made from absolute trash. So this setup here could be had for very cheap and very little effort. Because of the limitations on materials and pricing, it's obviously not gonna be the best looking set you could possibly make, but damn if it's not good enough to play a sweet game of D&D on. Seriously, any player in their right mind would be thrilled to sit at a table where their DM has set up a set like this. So while I was at Dollarama, I saw this item that got me inspired and thinking. It was these wooden artist panels. They're basically canvases, but wood. They are a great starting point for lots of projects. I've used them in past videos to make dice trays, and they would also work great as diorama bases. But this was the first time that I noticed them carrying these large ones. They're 12 by 12. Well, approximately, they're not exact, but they're close enough. This would make them a great size for large tiles. 4 of them together creates a perfect little 4-foot square battle board for games. Since I was sticking to dollar store materials, I topped these with foam core rather than XPS insulation foam. It's important to note that I used the Ready Board brand. This is the one that they sell at Dollar Tree. This stuff has paper that's pretty easy to pull off, giving you a thin sheet of foam to work with. Keep in mind that because the paper is easy to pull off, it's not a secure surface to glue to. That's why I took off the paper from the side I'd glue to the wood panels. To help the glue bond better with the wood, I first lightly wet the wood to open up the wood grain, in hopes that it would absorb some of the glue rather than just sitting on a dry surface and not really sticking. And I didn't use anything fancy, just Elmer's white glue. There's of course better adhesive options, but if you're on a budget and don't have access to much, trusty old PVA glue will do the job just fine. I recommend at least trying to get the all-purpose white glue and avoid the stuff labeled school glue, as it's a lot more diluted. Some carpenter or wood glue is an even better option for a relatively cheap cost. And you want to make sure to get full coverage and work quickly so that the glue doesn't start to dry before the foam hits it. If you're really quick and want to be extra sure you got a good bond, you can also coat the foam before sandwiching the two together. It's important to keep even pressure across the whole surface while this glue dries. And if you're playing D&D, you probably have some fancy weights on hand that are perfect for this task. Stacking multiples and then covering with a bunch of heavy books and letting them sit for a good few hours is super easy and simple, but it gets the job done. And trust me, it's a lot better to glue on an oversized piece of foam and cut off the extra afterwards than it is to cut the foam to size before gluing it. If you didn't take the paper off both sides of the foam core initially, you can do the other side now. And you're gonna be left with this big flat area of foam that you can carve, texture, and scribe however you'd like. But you've also got this bottom, this recessed side that can be used for all sorts of fun things. In this case, I wanted to create a double-sided cave tile where one side was just plain stone and the other had some pools of water. This hollow cavity would give me room to insert some carved out water areas. But first, the inside needs to be filled with foam. And if you want to be very efficient with waste, you can just fill it up with layers of scrap foam core. It only needs a bit of hot glue per layer, and really you can get away with not completely filling the area if you're just using random pieces. Just be mindful of where you have foam underneath when you go to cut out your pawns. Now to cut those out, just hold your knife at an angle and create the outline of the shape. Don't go too deep, only through 1 or 2 layers of foam core. The deeper you make these, the more material you're gonna need to fill them to create the water effect, and going deeper isn't gonna make them look any better in the end. If you wanna be exceptionally frugal, you can save the pieces you cut out and use them for hills. Now once you've got your foam on both sides and your pawns cut out, just grab a jagged rock and add some texture. Your foam layers might not be too well bonded after you cut out the pawns, so to make sure they're secure and sealed and won't leak, run some hot glue around the seams. If you have asbestos fingers covered with thick calluses, you might be able to spread this hot glue with a damp finger. but I don't recommend it. Hot glue is no joke, and if you're not using a low temperature glue gun, you can give yourself a pretty nasty burn. A smarter way to spread the hot glue is by using a little scrap of foam between the glue and your finger while smearing it. For real, please don't burn yourself, and if you do, don't blame me because I told you use a piece of foam. An optional step is to coat all the foam and the wood edges in some Mod Podge mixed with black paint to seal it and stiffen it up a bit. Now if you're saying, hey, you can't get Mod Podge at the dollar store, well, you're wrong because you can. At least at Dollar Tree most of the time. An alternative would be using some latex house paint if you have like an old can in the basement. I wouldn't recommend using PVA glue for this though, as it can rehydrate and cause all sorts of problems later when you apply a wash. Before we get to painting, I want to tell you about the sponsor that made this video possible, Crippled God Foundry. Crippled God Foundry are my favorite studio in the 3D printable miniature market. Their sculpts are amazing, and they have the best pre-supported models I've come across. This is why I hired them to make the miniatures for my own game, Idols of Torment. They provide monthly releases perfectly suited for fantasy RPG gamers. And I found a lot of their competitors to be a bit lacking in this department, not focusing on practical, usable sets of miniatures for game masters. Crippled God gives you what you actually need to run an adventure. The monthly themes are ones that you'd actually use for your games, like this month's theme, which is full of Underdark, cave-dwelling, arachnid creatures, characters, and terrain. What I love most about them is that their sets aren't full of a bunch of one-off models. They give you multiple variants of the same creatures and enemies, so you can actually set up a dynamic battle against a group of foes, and you can populate the setup with a bunch of cool bits and accessories that are on theme. And I really can't stress enough how well supported their STL files are. I've printed at least a few hundred of their models at this point, and I've had nearly no failures. Something I can't say about every company. If you want to sign up for their monthly bundles, I'll put a link in the description to where you can check them out. If you want to get some of these sweet spider boys and girls, be sure to join up while this month's theme is still going. Now, painting. I'm doing the entire paint job with craft paint and cheap brushes. This certainly isn't the best way, but it's the most accessible and literally anyone can do it without needing anything special. I start with a dark gray, and to make things faster, I just pour the paint right out of the bottle onto the tile and spread it out with a wet brush. This can leave you with some visible brush strokes, especially when using crappy craft brushes, but if needed, you can just lightly dab them away with some paper towel. To give some variation in color and make things more like stone, pick a color, say brown or green or even blue, and mix it in with the same dark gray you just applied. Then take a regular old kitchen sponge and stipple it on all over the surface of the tile. You want to get it applied all over everything, but you don't want a solid coat. You want to end up with a mixture of dark gray and this tinted gray throughout. And when it's dry brush on some highlights with a light gray, a beige, or a tan. Try to avoid brush strokes as much as possible by using small amounts of paint and a circular motion. It's pretty tough to completely avoid brush strokes when you're doing areas this large though. The next step is optional, the wash. And here I used the very budget homemade wash that I have a video recipe for that I'll link in the description. If you want to be even more budget, black paint, water, and a few drops of dishwasher rinse aid will get the job done. This recipe is hella cheap, but it's not that great on flat surfaces. It's okay, but you should expect to get a bunch of splotchy dark spots where the wash pooled on areas that, don't look so good. This right here is the reason that I switched to oil washes. If this was an oil wash, I could just wipe that right off and be left with only the wash in the areas I want. But if oil washes are not an option, just make do with what you have. Or just don't do a wash. As you can see, it basically just put things back to where they were before dry brushing, and its usefulness is debatable here. It really depends on the look you're going for. Personally, I wanted a dark looking stone, so that's all right. Before doing the water, it's a good idea to paint out the bottom of the pools black. And if you're feeling more adventurous, you can take some turquoise, green, or blue and apply it to the edges, mixing it into the black to give a bit of depth. That needs to fully dry before applying any sort of water effects, so you can take this time to clean up the edges of your tiles with some black craft paint. Now, painting out edges and bottoms of crafted items can do a lot to make them look a little bit more presentable and less trashy. For the water, I'm using 5-minute epoxy. This is an off-brand that I buy from Dollarama for super cheap. Now, if you can't find anything at your dollar store, you can try a place like Walmart or Home Depot, but it is going to be a bit more expensive there. But sit tight, I'm going to show you a cheaper and even easier material to use in a moment. Now, each large pool used a full tube of epoxy. So I mixed and poured each one individually since it kicks super fast. This stuff is very viscous and you don't have much working time, so you need to give it some help to spread it to fill everywhere. To make things easier, you can set the tube in some hot water before opening it. This makes a big difference, making it both easier to squeeze out and to mix. It also helps it run and even out on its own much better, but it's still gonna need some help. This epoxy cures rapidly. It legitimately only takes like 5 minutes to cure. This is wonderful, but that rapid curing does cause a lot of bubbles, which is fine here, but something to consider when using it on something else. I'd also recommend doing this with an open window or even outside if you can, as it off-gasses a pretty disgusting, horrible smell while curing. Now I said that I have an even cheaper alternative, and I do, clear glue. I've never actually used clear glue for water before because I was always worried that it would just take way too long to dry and possibly shrink. But I saw this aqua tinted bottle that was the perfect color and I figured, hey, why not give it a shot on some of the smaller ponds? It poured great, way better than the resin because it's a lot thinner, and it had like no bubbles in it. But what was the drying time gonna be like? Surprisingly, it dried within the same day, which is way faster than I expected. I was careful to only pour it a few millimeters deep though. Any deeper and I'd be worried that it would skin over and take forever to dry all the way through. In retrospect, I actually think the glue is a better choice than the epoxy on tiles like this. It's easier to use, it doesn't stink, it's cheaper, and it really doesn't take that long to dry. I'm really happy with how these turned out. They aren't super nice, but they will get the job done. And they stayed true to the challenge of only using really cheap tools and materials. They also take about 0 skill to make, so they're a fantastic project for new terrain makers who just want to get something on the table that they can game with. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, hit the like button and let me know in the comments section below. If you want to pick up some non-dollar store tools and supplies for your hobby needs, check out blackmagiccraft.ca. There I link to stuff that I use regularly, and purchasing through those links helps fund the production of these videos. The other great way you can help me keep making these videos is by joining the Blackmagic Craft Fellowship on Patreon. That support really goes a long way to ensuring I can keep making these videos. That's it for this one. Also, I'm really happy with the way I painted these guys. The green and yellow really stands out on these dark tiles. All right, I'll catch you again next video. Cheers.